Skip Bayless is a weird dude, man. Like I was listening to him and Skip, I listened to him and Shannon Sharp debate, you know, Charles Barkley versus Draymond Green, right? And, I don't normally agree with anything that Shannon Sharp agrees with, but in this instance, I side with Shannon Sharp, even though I don't even give him as much credit as he gave Draymond. I think that Draymond is a glorified bum. Okay, but Skip has a very weird way of rating players. Sometimes, like he doesn't seem to go by dominance, statistical production. He seems to go by this weird psychoanalysis. I don't know what he goes by. Like he'll say that somehow in his world, a guy that puts up 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists is more impactful than the guy who's putting up 27 and 12. I don't know what world Skip Bayless lives in, but I got to bring him a dose of reality. Okay. Now, of course, the narrative from the very few Draymond Green supporters out there is that Charles Barkley never won anything. It was just a bunch of empty stats. And the vast majority of people who actually, get it will tell you that Charles Barkley just unfortunately played in the era where, Michael Jordan played in. I mean, when Michael Jordan finally figured it out with Chicago and how to win with the Bulls, not only was Charles Barkley, thwarted in championship glory, but a lot of other guys. Like, for instance, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, Sean Kemp, Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin. A lot of guys were thwarted. Tim Hardaway, Penny Hardaway. And some guys' careers could have been enhanced even more so had they won them earlier or in their primes. Like Gary Payton won a championship with the Heat, as did Mourning, but they were really more or less riding Dwayne Wade's and to a lesser extent Shaq's coattails. But they weren't able to do it in their primes in the Michael Jordan era. Now, Clyde Drexler did win a ring in '95, but this was Clyde after the knee injury. I think it was he suffered in '92. He wasn't quite the same guy, and he was a sidekick more or less. In '92, had he won that championship, it would have put Drexler up higher, even higher, in rankings of all-time shooting guards. So Michael Jordan, affected the careers and legacies of so many different guys. That has to be remembered. Draymond Green hit the draft lottery. Draymond Green, for the past few years, have been playing on teams that have had guys like Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andre Iguodala. All right, he's had those guys as his teammates. There's no way in hell, and not to even mention, other guys that were on that bench, such as a Sean Livingston and Leandre Barbosa and Harrison Barnes. These are the guys he's been playing with. My way of judging a player, is simple. You take this guy and you put him on a bad team, all right? Can he enhance that team in any way? Not saying that they're going to be a championship team, but can he enhance that team? All right? If you take Giannis off of the Bucks, all right, they might still go to the playoffs maybe, but they wouldn't be any higher than a 7th seed, in my opinion. All right? Maybe 8th. Okay, you put Giannis on that team, they were number 1 in the NBA. If you put Draymond Green on the Milwaukee Bucks, maybe they're a 6th seed. Not that much improvement. You put you put Draymond on a bad team, which is what we just saw this past year. Okay. What did we see? We saw a guy stink it up. You put Charles Barkley on a bad team, they may be a bad team, but he enhances that team. He makes them go from being a cellar dweller to being a team that you have to at least, show respect for. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to prove my point right here. All right? Now, the 1989-1990 season was the closest season of all time when it came to MVP voting. Now, the eventual MVP of that year was Magic Johnson. It was his last MVP, the third of his illustrious career. Now, Michael Jordan, that year, averaged 33.6 points, 6.9 rebounds, 6.3 assists, 2.8 steals, which led the NBA, as is his scoring. Shot 53% from the floor. I think 52.6% to be more precise. Okay? And about 85% from the foul line. A phenomenal year. And that's also a year where he shot 38% from 3. It was the first year that he really displayed a 3-point prowess. Okay? Yet, by the way, that's also the year he had his career high 69-point performance against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But yet, he finished 3rd in MVP voting that year. 3rd. So who was 2nd? Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was 2nd in MVP voting that year. And it was the closest 2nd place finish ever. And many people will tell you Charles Barkley should have won the MVP that year, even more so than he did in the actual year he won it, which was 92-93. And I'm going to tell you why. All right? Just going to go through some statistics. Charles Barkley was 5th in free throws made, 3rd in free throws attempted. He was 2nd in offensive rebounds. He was 8th in defensive rebounds, 4th in total rebounds altogether, 14th in steals. Remember, he's a power forward. 9th in points, 2nd in field goal percentage, shooting an incredible and astonishing 60% from the floor, even though he was a 6'4.5" undersized power forward. Okay. 3rd in minutes per game at 39.1 minutes. 6th in scoring that year at 25.2 points per game. 3rd in rebounding per game at 11.5 rebounds per game. 15th in steals at 1.9 steals per game. All right. Player efficiency rating, 3rd, 27.1 behind Michael Jordan and Karl Malone. True shooting percentage, number 1 in the NBA, 66.1%. Effective field goal percentage, number 2, 60.8%. Offensive rebound percentage, 4th, 13.4 that year. Defensive rebound percentage, All right, I'm trying to see where he was at. I think he was 23rd that year. Total rebound percentage. Charles Barkley was 13th. Now this is important. Usage percentage, which displays his efficiency. Jordan was number 1 at 33.7, then Karl Malone, then Ricky Pierce, Dominique Wilkins, Walter Davis, Bernard King, Jeff Malone, Patrick Ewing, Liddell Eccles, Tony Campbell, Tom Chambers, Terry Cummins, Akeem Olajuwon, Larry Bird, Xavier McDaniel, Rex Chapman, David Robertson, Reggie Theus, Isaiah Thomas, Dale Curry was 20th. This is a guy that averaged 25 points a game. In usage rating, Charles Barkley was 39th, although he was 5th in scoring, which goes to show you how impactful and efficient he was that particular year. And this is not some aberration. This was just one of his great peak year performances. Okay? So to sit there and say that Charles Barkley his numbers weren't impactful is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to say. Win shares. Charles Barkley was second that year to Michael Jordan in win shares. And win shares is one of the more, reliable statistics to show how impactful a player is on a particular team. Win shares per 48 minutes, Charles Barkley was third behind Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson. Box, plus or minus. We hear about that with Shannon Sharpe all the time. Number 1 that season was Jordan. Number 2, Magic. Number 3, John Stockton. Number 4, Charles Barkley. Offensive box, plus minus. Charles Barkley was third that year. Okay? And value over replacement player, or VORP, which we always hear about from that fucking nerd Gonzo, a.k.a. Nick Wright. Michael Jordan was number 1. Magic was number 2. Stockton was number 3. Charles Barkley was number 4. Now this is the coup de grace. This is the kill. Let's look at this 1989-90 Philadelphia 76ers team, right? That won 53 games, right? Let's look at this roster. You have Ron Anderson, who? Charles Barkley, Scott Brooks, Leonard Copeland, Johnny Dawkins, a fine player but no all-star, Corey Gaines, Mike Chabinski, Hershey Hawkins, who's probably the best player he played with in Philly, but not a perennial all-star, Lewis Lloyd, Rick Mahorn, Kurt Nymphius, Kenny Payne, Dexter Schausch, Derek Smith, Jay Vincent, and Bob Thornton. But yet, with these motherfucking LeBron fans, you want to talk about somebody playing with bums? You want to talk about somebody who was playing with bums? Seriously. Somehow, he carried that fucking team on his back, and they won 53 goddamn games. Okay? But after years and years and years and years of bad management and playing with a bunch of bums, Charles wanted out. I don't blame him. So for Skip Bayless to sit there and form out of his mouth, his numbers weren't impactful. Skip, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about, man. And the only fucking reason that Charles Barkley doesn't have a championship ring is because of Michael Jordan. That's it. That's it. It's the only reason. And I guess you could also put in John Stockton for hitting that three, in '97. Even I don't think Houston would have beat Chicago. Not that version of Houston. But definitely, Michael Jordan. He had to have a superhuman performance. He turned to Superman in the '93 finals. And that's the only reason why Charles Barkley doesn't have a championship. Okay? And then another thing I want to say, too, because I did a 1-hour video. Don't put a link in the description box, detailing why Charles Barkley. Matter of fact, I might just re-upload that video. I don't know. I might just put a link to it. I don't need to do that. I don't know. I'll think about it. I might just re-upload that one. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. After I upload this video, I'm going to re-upload that one. There's a video I did detailing why it wasn't really Charles Barkley's fault why he never won a championship. Because Charles Barkley, time and time again, was, I'm not saying he was perfect. Everybody has bad games. But more often than not, Charles Barkley came through in elimination games when his team needed him the most. Okay? And the biggest game of his career at that time, the '93 Western Conference Finals, Game 7 against the Seattle Supersonics. Okay? Charles Barkley had the 44-point, 24-rebound performance when his team needed all of those points and all those rebounds. So you're not going to sit here and revise history to make people think that Charles Barkley was an underachieving bum. Okay? I'm not going to allow it. And I know other people on YouTube who know the history of the NBA, they're not going to allow it either. So, tell me what you guys think.